Oh my God, I get so excited to share my fabulous friends with you. I interview all these wonderful A-list celebrities, but it's my fabulous friends that I get so excited to introduce you to, and I'm so excited to introduce you to Amy Freeze, and yeah, it's her real name. Welcome. You are welcome at Nelson's, and you are very welcome at Nelson's.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Your place is great.
Thank you. And usually, have an Amy Freeze. I made these up. It's just vanilla ice cream with a little orange juice.
My favorite, though. I was raised on ice cream.
Creamsicles. Right? It's like a creamsicle.
Delicious. Ooh, I like it a lot.
Fresh and sweet. And we got black and white cookies, the whole New York thing.
Cheers.
Because you're a nice little girl from Utah.
Yeah, actually.
Living in the big city.
Yeah, you know, I was born in Utah and I spent the majority of my childhood in Indiana. So for 18 years, I was kind of like a farm girl, but I was born in Utah and then I went to school in Utah. So a lot of people are like, you're from Utah. I'm like, sort of. Spent about 2 or 3 years there.
But didn't you go to Brigham Young?
I did go to Brigham Young University.
Cheerleader?
I was a cheerleader.
Not a surprise.
I can still do a toe touch.
Can you?
Yep.
Well, she can not only do a toe touch, she's a marathon runner. I love that what does it say on your Twitter page about stair climber?
Yes, I'm definitely a stair climber.
She runs up the Empire State Building. It's too
that.
bad your TV studio is on the main level because there aren't a lot of stairs.
No.
But Amy, if you're not in New York City, then you might not recognize her unless you were in Chicago or Philadelphia or any of the other cities you've reported for, is the meteorologist, not an easy word to say, on New York's #1 news station, WABC. And of course, everyone says, but your last name is Freeze. That's made up because you're a weather chick.
It's the name I was born with, 100%. But that's the #1 question that people always ask. How could that possibly your name? Is that for real? But if I was to choose my weather name, I would go with Windy Breeze. Then I could live in like Miami or something.
balmy palms.
Sunny days.
But the thing about
Tsunami.
Tsunami.
Yes, exactly.
You know, the thing about Amy is she's also my running partner, so we go running together, and she puts her money where her mouth is. Like, we'll be running along, and I'll say something about the geese, and she'll give me some meteorological explanation of why the geese have changed their migrating patterns and brought down the plane on the Hudson. You know your stuff. So you were born with the name, so why weather?
You know, I wanted to be a newspaper writer. I wanted to write about foreign wars and politics, and I was like dreaming and picturing myself working for the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or something, and I finished school and I got a job in a TV station. I was writing and they said, we need someone to fill in doing weather. And they said, Amy Freeze, that sounds like the weather. I had no weather experience whatsoever, but that didn't stop them. And so I went back to school and I started a degree in meteorology, and I was working, having kids, and getting a degree, and it took me 4 or 5 years.
4 kids.
Yeah, and I finished it, and I'm so glad that I did, because I just fell in love with weather and I had a passion for it. And I've worked in the Rocky Mountains, the Pacific Northwest, the East Coast, the plains, of course, Chicago, big tornado territory. And then living here in New York, we've had Irene, we've had Sandy, we've had nor'easters, blizzards, you name it.
But it's your preparation, and I find this to be the recurring lesson. Whenever anybody says, I want to do what you do, the answer, no matter what the career is, preparation, know your stuff. And certainly weather is arguably the category that a lot of weather people, they don't know about actual meteorology. So the fact that you know is what got you, I believe, that and a cute figure, into the #1 market in the country and a legion of fans around the country.
Yeah, you know, I did have a producer that I worked with one time, and he said to me, I was trying to get off work to take some midterms. He says, you know what? You don't need to take those midterms or those classes. You've got a good smile and a good personality. You're going to be just fine in this business. Just be at work. And I said to myself, if it's the last thing I do, I will finish that degree. And so I kept at it, and I'm so glad I did, because I can only imagine walking in to the meteorologists that I've worked with on the East Coast or to the bosses that I've worked for and saying, hey, let me cover a major storm. And I've got a good smile and a good personality. That would not have measured up, because nowadays when we're looking at meteorology, it's not just about, is it sunny, is it cloudy? People want to know specifics. When's it going to rain? How much snow are we going to have? When's the weather going to get dangerous?
Well, and you can pull out your device and you can get instant updates there. So they must have something extra from you and perspective and background. And you don't just do weather as well. I saw your report on the aquarium, but it had a weather slant, which was fascinating. I mean, everything you do has a weather slant. I mean, your children aren't named cloudy, sunny,
No,
stormy.
I didn't think of that soon enough. No, my oldest son is Tyler. He's 14. He goes to a performing arts
14.
school. He's a public school student here in New York. I have an 11-year-old who's playing
Start him
guitar
young
and
at Brigham
soccer.
Young. That's why they call him Brigham Young. He started, must have been a child
That's right, I
bride.
had him very young. And then I have one daughter. She's 7, almost 8, and my youngest is 4, believe it or not.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you are a bit of a weather hottie.
Thank you.
Admit it, you know. You usually wear red. You've always got a bold color. And I think red is probably the most common
Red's
one
my
that I
favorite.
see.
Hands down. I would be wearing red every day if I could. I love it.
How does it work? I mean, I'm used to my own sort of niche in the international market. How does it work here in New York? #1 station, #1 market. How much say do you have over your own public self?
They pretty much let us choose what we want to wear. If we're wearing something that's not good, then they always speak up and tell us. But I like to choose dresses. I love dresses, but red's my favorite color. My grandmother used to always wear red. My grandma Freeze, by the way. She used to always wear red, and it reminds me so much of her, and I just love it. I love wearing red, and if I could, I would be in a red dress every day. That'd be my uniform.
Well, it's fun to see you on the air because you are a yummy mummy.
I like that.
I think that's the best way to describe it. You are a yummy mummy. And the viewers respond to that. I think everybody's always surprised when they hear you've got 4 children. And how do you do that in Manhattan?
I think it is surprising. For me, once you have one child, I think you've sort of mastered the self-sacrifice that you've got to do to have kids. But for me, I think I started so young, in my early 20s, married with a kid, that it was just always part of my life. And so I learned to prioritize, not necessarily balance, because I don't think anything's ever really balanced, but prioritize when certain things were the most important. And I never let people tell me that it couldn't be done. A lot of people say, kids in Manhattan, it's not really gonna work. You can't do that. You can't put them all in public schools. And I took the time to figure it out, and it's worked out. 4 kids in public schools in New York City. And it's never easy, but it's definitely worth it.
Does your husband have a halo?
I think he does. Yeah, he doesn't let people see it much, and sometimes I see it as horns, but yeah, he is definitely a secret to the balancing act and making everything work.
Well, it was a bit of a revelation for me to visit Amy at the studio and see, you sort of figure, okay, she'll get her weather graphics and the temperatures and the forecast and whatever. You work your butt off while you're there. You are the busiest gal in the building.
You really do a lot of work as the meteorologist these days, because you're not only preparing the information, but you're also putting together the computer graphics. And the best way to describe it is kind of like a PowerPoint, but it's got all this major weather information from satellites and radars to actual data that's coming in from temperature sensors and wind gauges from all over the area. And so you really have to gauge that for the weather of the day. And so it's always changing. It's not just you go in and it's ready to go and you can just roll with it. The other thing that surprises a lot of people is we don't read the teleprompter. You might come in and it's like, hello, I'm Bill Ritter and I'm Sade Better-Renoir, and everything's written, even their names. But for the meteorologist, everything is ad lib. It's all memorized. So we have no prepared scripts. Everything has to be pre-arranged in our minds.
What's your biggest blunder that you go, if I could take it back, or maybe it was funny and ended up on the Christmas reel?
I just died. I had a coughing fit on television, and they played it on Howard Stern.
On Howard Stern?
Yes, it was horrible. Yeah, but I guess he thought it was funny. And then the sidekick, the woman, she's
Robin.
So lovely. She came to my defense and she said, it happens, it's live TV, it's live broadcast. But I literally
did he make some crude remark?
Coughed up a lung. I'm sure he did. I never even listened because I was too fearful for what he actually said. But a lot of people said, I heard you coughing on Howard Stern. So it wasn't really like, hey, I heard you as a guest, or they said something nice about you. It's like, I heard you almost dying in a clip on Howard Stern. So I think that's my worst.
That's how you know you made it. And FYI, Howard Stern runs in Central Park like we do, and he runs counterclockwise, which is really irritating. It's a little irritating that he runs the wrong way. It's kind of one of those look at me thing.
I'll cough real hard next time.
He's out of the same gym. I happen to know that you know the gym where you work.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I think you'll run into him and you can
see if he recognizes
give
me.
him a little thing. Is New York where you want to stay now? Does it feel like home?
Absolutely. I mean, I've lived in so many different places, 8 states as an adult. And in this business, you move from spot to spot and you're kind of sort of trying to get to the highest point that you can get. New York City, WABC is the #1 local affiliate in the country, and it's the most watched television station in New York City. So it's pretty exciting to be here. And the thing that makes me know that I'm actually happy to be here is I hung pictures on the wall in my apartment.
Wow.
And I rarely have done that throughout my entire life of moving. Is usually I move somewhere and I keep the pictures in the boxes, and I never really get my roots in.
Well, lucky for me, then you're no more tumbleweed. You can just
Right.
stay here and put down some roots.
Absolutely.
And we go running, and she runs at a little bit of a clip. One day she convinced me to run the museum mile. I had just done 2 laps around the park, like 12 and a half miles or something. I come home, I've had my shower. She calls me, I need you to come and be on the ABC team for the museum mile.
Yeah, mile down Madison Avenue.
And I was like, I can't do any more. And she's like, it's just a
Come
mile.
on, come on.
And I did it. I mean, I was
You were awesome.
I
Hello.
was in the back, but
You
whatever.
were very
I did it.
fast. No, you were very fast. The whole team.
It was an
very
8-minute
fun.
mile, but I was still in the back.
See? No, it was very fun. And I love doing things like that. I love getting friends together and going out and doing races and just having a social setting, being outdoors and exercising and fitness. I just love that. And I've always had that part of my life. And
Well, you're lucky too that the station lets you share that with the audience. I mean, everybody knows if you're interested in running, and you get your fair share of fitness-related stories and coverage. You were out there for the New York City Half Marathon. The bad news is it keeps you from running sometimes.
No, I wish I was out there on Saturday and Sunday mornings. I so envy when you're out at the races and running by our fishbowl saying hello. But eventually the time will come when that's right. But it's been so fun just to be able to be here for some of the big races. We had a disappointment with the New York Roadrunners last year in Sandy, so I think this year is going to be huge for the marathon. But it's just an amazing running community. My favorite place is right here near your place, up and down the Hudson River on Riverside Park.
We're so lucky.
I love it.
And I love the 4 seasons.
Yes.
Some people complain about that it's not perfect weather, but I think that's what makes it so much more interesting. And
The leaves changing, the wind on the river, the hot sun. I mean, it just is the whole gamut. And of course, we got some good snow this year too.
And you can hear my upstairs neighbors at the moment. That's the thing about New York living. What's the thing about New York living? Do you have any wacky neighbors, or is there anything about New York that has been difficult to get adjusted to?
Definitely the getting food, and I have to preface this by saying you can get
We live
any
near
food.
Zabar's.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you can get any food in New York City that you want delivered to your front door in an instant. But because I have 4 children, I have a tendency to actually buy groceries and prepare food, meals, and their lunches and stuff. So getting food is really tough. But so that's the one thing that I'm kind of like, oh, I just wish, and I need to try some of the delivery services. I know they deliver and stuff like that, but I'm kind of just old fashioned. So I have a huge cart that I take down to the grocery store and I pile it up.
Sexy.
And people are like, who are you buying all this food for? But New York City has taught me so much about myself. I think a lot of my personality has always been so, maybe you can relate to this too, so defined by success and doing things and achieving things. I've looked at other people and I've said, how could that person get to be that way? How did they get homeless? How did they get to the point where they're struggling with addiction? Or why have they isolated themselves from their families? And I just couldn't understand the hardship that led people to some of the tough stuff that we're up against as human beings on the planet. And here in New York City, you find those struggles. You see the struggles in everyday life, from transportation to getting groceries to living in small spaces. And you see some of the pressures that can lead people to hard times. And it has expanded my ability to have compassion in so many ways. So I think that living in New York, I've learned more about myself than I ever thought possible. And it's really changed my perspective on a lot of things about the rest of humanity, the rest of the community that we're living in. A lot of places I've lived, you can sort of get along. You can go along, get along. You can live and thrive in different ways. But once you're in New York City, you're up against the same thing everybody else is up against.
I'm more reminded here than anywhere of the definition of patience.
Yes.
A good-natured tolerance of an unexpected delay. So when you're
life.
stuck on the subway, a good-natured tolerance of an unexpected delay. So on that note, good nature. I'm gonna ask you to draw 5 pieces of paper out of here.
What is this little lovely?
This is, you know it's over when the fat lady sings. So you're going to pull out 5 pieces of paper at random.
All right.
Just throw them down on the couch, and I'll ask you the questions that we're dying
There's
to know.
1 and 2, 3. I love this thing. 4 and 5. Okay.
Let's see. Your best answer to, if you could have a personal trainer, chef, or driver, which would it be?
Definitely a driver.
Really interesting.
Yes, I would go for a driver.
I wouldn't have thought that.
I like the lap of luxury like that.
Beyonce, awesome or overrated?
Awesome. She is so awesome. Her body is awesome. Her hair is awesome. Her clothes are awesome. She is awesome.
Interesting. You've surprised me twice now. Who's a deceased star you wish you could have met?
Well, I've seen like every single Matlock that's ever happened. So I was gonna go there, but I'm probably gonna go with Elvis Presley.
All right.
Elvis Presley.
Next
King
time
of
you're
rock and
watching
roll.
Matlock, listen
I know.
carefully. I did looping on that show for 2 seasons. It's my voice in the background of 2 seasons of
Well, I'm
Matlock.
gonna have to listen.
Who was your favorite president?
I'm just gonna have to go with Reagan. You know, that's kind of the kid in me coming out, Reagan.
And his wife was fabulous with all of her china. Have you ever walked out of a movie? If so, which one?
Oh my gosh, I have walked out of a lot of movies, but there's one that I remember definitely just thought it was the most awful movie ever. It was called Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
With Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey. I believe that movie was actually directed by, I forget who it was directed by. It was a big, huge director. I think John Cusack was even in that movie. I can't remember for sure.
Right.
But anyway, it was a terrible movie. It's set in the South. It's set in Savannah. It's absolutely gorgeous, but the film itself made no sense to me. It's horrible.
Some books are better than the movie. That was a big book.
Yes.
And to me, that would be like Prince of Tides. Fabulous. One of the best books ever written, one of the worst movies.
Yeah. 2 thumbs down.
On that note, you're not going to walk out of it, Nelson's, until you finish your Amy Freeze.
I love it.
Thanks for hanging out.
It is so good. Creamsicle.
So good. I love you.
Thank you so much.
Other
Great.
side. Cheers.
To running.